Welcome to Write That Book Now, Strategies for Becoming an Author. This is a three-part series for new and emerging writers. Part 1, Starting, looks at the challenges writers face that prevent them from writing and suggests 7 things they can do to overcome those challenges. Part 2, Writing, covers what you should consider when writing and how to set up the right environment to get the most out of your writing. Part 3, Finishing, deals with knowing when to step away from your manuscript and discusses your options for publishing. This is Part 1, Starting, presented by Shelly-Ann Edwards-Barron.
So to begin this presentation, I want to share with you a few photos that my 9-year-old took of me last year. I'm just putting them out there as an introduction to telling you about myself. I am a Christian, I am a wife and mother, I am a teacher, coach, tutor, I am a director, an editor, I am a photographer, I am a graphic artist, I am a lifelong learner, I am a writer. Now, I could have also told you that I'm a former university lecturer. I taught composition courses, communication courses, English as a second language, but I wanted to phrase the sentences in a particular way because I learned something a few months ago that has stuck with me. You see, what follows I am follows you. Now, this means that words have power. Now, I'm sure you've heard about things like affirmations, and you may have heard people say, speak the word into your life. Now, basically, what that means is that when you say things like, I am a writer, that gives a certain weight and a certain power, and it causes your brain to think about this is who you are. You are speaking that into your life. So, this is why I chose to say, I am, and continue all the sentences with I am, because what follows I am follows you. Now, I struggled for years with my writing, and it was only when I changed the way I thought about it and thought about myself and my writing and started using those I am statements, that's when I began to see real change in my life. So, I am a Christian, I am a wife and mother, I am a teacher, coach, tutor, I am a director, an editor, I am a photographer, I am a graphic artist, but most of all, I am a lifelong learner. I am a writer. Now, let's deal with some of the lies that writers tell themselves. Now, as I said, I was struggling with my writing for some years, and some of these lies I told myself constantly, and quite frankly, I'm still working on some of them. Now, I'm going to go through them fairly quickly because I've written about all of them on my blog, and I'll give you the information to access that later. All right, so let's deal with lie number 1. Lie number 1 says, I don't have time to write. Now, I know we're all busy, but if you think about it, you'd realize that we always make time for what we consider important. So then you have to ask yourself, how important is your writing to you? That's a question that you alone can answer. And once you've answered that and you've decided that it is important, all you need to do is to manage your time well, and you will be able to find the time to write. Now, lie number 2, I can only write when inspired. Ye old fickle inspiration. Now, this is something that a lot of writers believe that there is some cosmic force out there that sends inspiration in particular ways. The problem with that is that we can all find inspiration for ourselves. Now look at this photo. Isn't it funny how a moldy wall with cracked and peeling paint can inspire something so wonderful? Inspiration is everywhere, and if we keep that in mind, then we don't have to wait for inspiration to come to us. We can go out and find it. Lie number 3, nobody wants to read my writing. Now, hidden in this one is a bit of self-esteem issue, and it comes out most frequently when we feel that our ideas aren't significant or not important, and we really think that, nobody's interested in what we have to say. But when you think about it, really, everybody says things differently, and there is a great possibility that someone out there is waiting to hear exactly the words that you will use to explain something. So think about that person when you're writing, and think about what your writing will mean to that person. All right, so let's move on to line number 4. Now, this is one that we tell ourselves quite a lot, and it doesn't look like it's problematic on the surface because, hey, we're busy today and we're going to make time tomorrow. Sounds like a fact, right? But think about it like this: the word tomorrow is simply not today. So, whatever day you get up is today, and the day after is going to be tomorrow. And this is why people say tomorrow never comes. It's like that elusive pot of gold at the end of the rainbow that people talk about sometimes. The fact is that we need to be more specific when we are going to be scheduling our writing, and this is something we'll talk more about in the actionables section. Now, line number 5 says, I need an original idea. But honestly, if the Bible said there's nothing new under the sun, then it's quite a feat to arrive at a new idea. But that's not the problem, new idea or not. It's your approach to the idea that's what's unique, and that is you giving your point of view. Now, still not convinced, still think you need a new idea? Take a walk down the bread aisle in your supermarket. When you do that, you would see dozens of different brands, but they're all bread. So it's not a new idea, it's an approach to the new idea that really makes a difference. Line number 6, I have writer's block. Now, a block is an impediment, something stopping you from doing what you're doing, right? Or doing what you want to do. Now, to say that you have a writer's block, what that means is basically that you're stuck on something. Maybe you're stuck on how to get started, you've been writing and then you reach to a point and you don't know what to do next. So basically, what is happening is that there is something stopping you from going where you want to go. And the best thing to do is to find out what it is and work on it. And ideally, what I'll do here is to refer you to line number 2, because it's usually an inspiration problem. And once you inspire yourself and you find something that can get you going again, you can continue. So to say that you have a writer's block is really a lie, because what people think of writer's block is that it is something that is inevitable, something that you can't avoid, something that you can do nothing about, and you just have to wait until it goes away. You don't have to wait until it goes away, because you can inspire yourself out of it. Line number 7, which says, I don't need a plan, I have talent, might not be so obvious to a lot of people. And what happens is that those of us who, we've been told that we write well and we can, use words well, we feel that, okay, I have an idea, I have a story in my head, I'm just going to write it. But if outlining bothers you, then there might be something worth investigating here, because in order to really write well, you must have a purpose, you must have a plan. And having that plan would save you from a lot more rewriting, and it saves a lot of time. Because basically, when it comes to writing, talent alone will not get you where you need to be. You have to be able to focus on the writing and work on it to develop your skills. Line number 8, my writing needs to be perfect. Now, this is kind of related to line number 7 in the sense that, okay, I have talent, therefore my writing must be perfect. What happens here is that perfectionism is going to keep you from moving forward with your writing, so that there will always be something to fix, always a problem with the writing. It wouldn't be good enough to share. And what that's going to do is to keep your writing close to you and not in the hands of those who need to read it. Now, basically, at some point, you just need to let it go. There's no other fix for this. You just need to let it go. And remember, after all, this is what editors are for. Editors go over your work and see things differently. So don't be afraid to let it go, because your work will be in good hands with a good editor. And in the end, you will see how beautiful and wonderful it will be when other people are reading it. Okay, so line number 9 says, I'll finish this after ... basically, you could fill in that space with any number of things. For you, it might even be I'll start writing after whatever the situation is you're going through right now. Now, the thing is, basically, this has to do with managing your time and organizing things. Now, if your writing is important to you, then you're going to make time for it. So, here again, I'm going to refer you to line number 1. This is really about time management. Now, line number 10 says, I need to build a brand first. Now, this lie usually comes about because we feel that, people won't want to read what we have or listen to what we're saying unless we're experts or they know us from somewhere. Now, the trouble with that is that the best way to become known is to write. That's why people have blogs and post articles on LinkedIn and Facebook. It's because writing gets you seen and gets you known. So to say that you need to build a brand first is kind of putting the cart before the horse. Basically, you just need to start writing and things will fall into place as necessary. Line number 11. Writing is easy when you're talented. Now, I could refer you directly back to line number 7 when speaking about this, because the idea about talent and having talent being what makes you a writer is something that I'll discuss in another program, but it's something that we need to be careful of. Talent is only the beginning. And simply because you have talent, it doesn't mean that you're not supposed to edit or you're not supposed to review or follow structures when it comes to writing. So having talent doesn't mean that writing is going to be easy. Now, can you see how the lies just kind of feed each other and lead into more lies? So the more lies we tell ourselves is the more lies we will tell ourselves, and that is going to keep us back from doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is writing. Now, the final lie that I want to address in this presentation is the one about editing. Now, a number of people who can write well or have been told that they're good writers have a hard time understanding why they need an editor. The basic idea here is that when we write, we have our stories in our heads. So regardless of what is on paper, we are going to see our complete story. And the reason we need an editor is for the purpose of having someone who doesn't know the story so that they can see it with a fresh pair of eyes and guide us on whether or not the people who are receiving it are going to get what we're intending. Now remember, we're not writing for ourselves, we're writing for an audience. So we need to get some feedback from the audience to see how they're receiving what we're writing. And this is where an editor comes in. So just to be clear, whether or not you're an excellent writer, you still need someone else to look at your work and tell you if it's going to be received well. So recognize the lies and stop believing them. And remember, I said that I went through each of the lies kind of quickly. If you want to read more about each of them, you can go to wordcoach.com and click on blog, and you would see the articles there. So there's one article addressing each of the lies. And what I do in the articles is to give you an idea of what the lie is, how it manifests, and a few things that you can do about it. So go to the website, read the blogs if you want more information on that. Now, a final thought before we move on to the actionables. Now, remember, we've been talking about talent, and a lot of people have this notion that you need talent in order to be a writer, or that your talent is what makes you a good writer. I want to give you a quotation that I got from a program with Will Smith. He was doing an interview discussing how he prepares for his movies, and the interviewer asked him, why do you do so much to prepare for the movies? And what he said is that no matter how talented you are, your talent is going to fail you if you're not skilled. So being skilled is what's more important. Even if you have talent or not, talent would just be a starting point. You still have to get all the skills that are necessary in order for you to write well and to complete your writing. All right, so now on to the actionables. Now, this is stuff that you can do or you should be doing in order to get started and to really get your writing going. The very first one is to find out why. Now, why is my favorite question because it helps us think about the reasons we're doing things. And you really need to work on the reason why you need to write this. Whatever project you're thinking of, whatever project you're working on, think about why you have to write it. Now, it's important that you understand why, because when the challenges come, the understanding of this why is what's going to help you move through those challenges. So take a moment and think about why you need to write this. Who needs to hear it? What is the purpose of the message that you are giving in the piece that you want to write? Now, once you have that clear, the next thing to do is to understand your situation. Now, we're all busy people, we're adults, we have lives, and we have responsibilities. And we need to know what time we have available to allocate to our writing. So take a moment and look at your responsibilities and see what time you can set aside in order to write. And the reason you do that is because for the third thing, you need to set up your environment to win. And setting up your environment to win means first understanding your environment and what is in your situation, and then you could shift things around to make it more possible for you to write and finish writing. So the first thing you're thinking about is interruptions. Set up a space or a place or a time that you can write uninterrupted. And then, depending on what you're working on, you might need to gather some information and have the information at your fingertips. So you don't necessarily need to stop and write and look for information in the midst of the writing. Try to get as much information as possible so that when you get started, you have what you need to continue your writing and in your train of thought. And of course, find inspiration. Find inspiration and keep that inspiration near you. So maybe in your space, you might have a quotation or a poster put up that when you look at it, it reminds you that this is something worthwhile and you can keep going. Or you have a photo or figurine or something on your desk that reminds you that this is worthwhile and you need to keep going. So whatever inspires you, keep something nearby so that when you start writing, you can find what you need to continue writing. And of course, if you're not sure what to do, you need to look for hope and look for help. Sometimes you might have this grand idea, this wonderful idea that you need to write about, and it's pressing on your mind, but you don't know where to get started, you don't know what to do, you don't know the first thing about putting a manuscript together, finding an editor. All of that can come across as very daunting, and you might feel like, okay, this is too much. But there's a lot of help out there. Many groups on Facebook, there are writers groups, many libraries have reading groups that you can find people who are interested in things that you are also interested in. So there's a lot of help out there. You need to reach out to other writers, find out what their struggles are, how they've overcome them. Find a coach or a mentor, someone who can guide you and help you complete the manuscript. So the idea is that don't ever think that you're alone. There is a lot of help out there. So feel free to reach out. There's stuff online, face to face, whatever works best for you. Get the help that you need to get this done. And then, of course, you need to make the decision and make the commitment. Simply wanting to write or having an idea to write is not enough. It's not a simple process, it's not an easy process. And sometimes there will be times when you don't know how to move forward. So you need to make a commitment. And yes, it's as serious as a marriage commitment. Value your time on your goals. This is important to you. So believe that it's important and treat it as if it's important. Give it the time and the effort and the energy it needs, and expect that you have to put in some work in order to really get the best out of what you want to get with your writing. And in order to do that, number 6, you need to schedule your writing. So remember, we dealt with the lie that you have to be inspired to write. So you don't have to wait and think, okay, I'm being inspired, now I have to stop what I'm doing and go to write. No, you need to schedule your writing. And when we talk about scheduling, tomorrow is not a day for scheduling. Remember, we dealt with that issue before. So words like tomorrow, this weekend, next week, these are not words that you should use when you're scheduling. In your scheduling, you have to be as specific as possible. So I'm going to write on Sunday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So you're not only giving a day, if you can also give a date, and set aside the duration. How long are you going to spend writing? You know your situation, you know your environment, you know what you need, and you know that, okay, you're available, you can set aside that time. And as I've said before, you're committed to this. So don't break your date with yourself and your writing. And then finally, after all that I've said, it might seem that, okay, this writing thing is really hard, this is tedious, but there is a certain amount of joy in it that we shouldn't really deny. So notice how you feel when you're writing. Notice the joy that you get when you see your words on paper. Think of the opportunities that you're going to experience when you finish this manuscript. And always remember to have fun. So that's basically the end of the presentation. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope now that you have an idea of some of the things that could be blocking you from writing, that you're able to work through them. And now that you have some ideas on how to do that, you can finally get started and write that book or that story that you've always wanted to write. Now, before you move on to do something else, think about what you've heard and what you've learned from this presentation and write down what you're going to do next. Remember, you have to take action. So write down what you're going to do, make a list, and then get it done. It was Mark Twain who said, "The secret of getting ahead is getting started." So be sure to get started.
This presentation was brought to you by Word Coach Limited. To contact Shelly Ann Edwards Barron, call or message 717-4993. Like Word Coach on Facebook for more content to help you write well. Remember, words matter, so find better words. Word Coach Limited, helping you find better words.